Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. Let's get to the late night updates and let's start with Viktor Gyökeres and then talk about Eze potentially swapping with Trossard. That will be very, very interesting. Let's start with Gyökeres. After arriving on Monday morning, Viktor Gyökeres' agents remain in London to find an agreement between Arsenal and Sporting regarding add-ons. This is according to Fabio Romano. Now, obviously, earlier on the live show, we talked about all the add-ons and how it's affecting the deal. In terms of the money upfront, Arsenal and Sporting have already agreed, but obviously Sporting wanted more money and they wanted the add-ons to be realistic, so they included some other things in the deal. Obviously they want to get as much money as possible, and in terms of the add-ons, from what we talked about on the live show, they want the 4 different add-ons, 2.5 million euros for each one of them. If Gyökeres plays 20 games this season, they get 2.5 million euros, and then the next 20 games after that they get another 2.5 million euros. If Arsenal qualify for the Champions League, they get another 2.5 million. And then next season, if he plays 20 games again, they're going to get another 2.5 million euros. So that 10 million euros is basically guaranteed because Gyökeres is going to play 20 games this season. He's going to play 20 games probably after that, and then 20 games next season. And then you'd expect Arsenal to make it to the Champions League. So that is very guaranteed. That is how Sporting want their add-ons to be. But maybe Arsenal wanted to be more, harder to achieve, maybe Arsenal to win the Premier League title so that they feel like it has been worth it to get Gyökeres, or maybe they want the deal to involve how many goals Gyökeres would score or how many goal contributions it have. But Sporting are hearing none of that. Sporting want those add-ons as I've said them, and that is what is bringing the problems at the moment. So there has to be more discussions. It's taken very, very long because we expected that here we go last week, and latest probably this previous Monday. But now we are heading into Thursday. Now the players are leaving for Asia on Saturday. The players are returning to training Thursday morning, like hardcore training now in England before jetting off to Singapore. So now the training becomes more intense. We are less actually 1 month away from us playing our first Premier League game against Man United. So not too long. So how is this deal going to get finalized? When will it get finalized? Will they finally agree on it on Thursday? Because we were told that at once Gyökeres to be on that plane on Saturday. So, we need to do it quickly so that the player heads for a medical. We were told the medical is already booked for Friday. So let's see how accurate that will be. If that is the case, then hopefully he's in the plane on Saturday, and then we have to wait and see how quickly they'll announce him, because I don't think all that will be done within a day. But let's wait and see. That is update from Fabrizio Romano on Gyökeres. Let's see how it goes. Now, let's talk about this. According to reports, Crystal Palace are open to a cash plus swap deal with Arsenal involving Eberechi Eze and Leandro Trossard. So we all know that Crystal Palace, they have a 68 million release clause on Eze's contract. So if you go right now and you pay the 68 million, it's a done deal. You're going to get Eze. If he wants to join you, it's done. Eze wants to join us already, but Arsenal not ready to pay that 68 million up front. Now, there was talks previously that Crystal Palace would be open for 3 installments of 20 million each, and then 8 million in add-ons. Not sure about how accurate that is, or if Crystal Palace change their mind, or if they're not really keen on that unless things become more difficult for them, and then they'll turn to that. We're also told maybe 2 installments and then less add-ons, maybe no add-ons, just you pay the 60 million with 2 add-ons. 60 million with 2 installments, so that they can get their money quicker. We also told that one. And then obviously now there's a swap deal. Now the previous swap deal suggestion was us giving them Josh Nichols, the youngster, the defender, and them giving us Eze, and then we give them plus some money. I don't know how much they would want Josh Nichols there. And now they're suggesting probably Trossard moving there and then Eze coming to us. So now how much would we need to pay them and add Trossard to the deal? Now, personally, for me, I think we should be trying to get at least above 25 million for Trossard, because he has 1 year remaining on his contract, and obviously because of the age. So if Eze is more than 60 million, will we need to pay them 40 million or something plus Trossard? That seems like a lot of money, to be honest. 40 million plus Trossard to get Eze. Now that is where Andrea Berti's negotiation skills would come in. Would he be able to get Eze for 30 million plus Trossard, and then bargain it down to that? all that is very possible, but I'm sure it's going to be a very tricky deal. I'm sure Crystal Palace also are being demoted from the Europa League. Depending on how much they need the money, they would probably want the money and not the players. So Trossard would probably be a good option for them, especially if he wants to go and play for them. You'd definitely be a good option. But how much does he want to go to Crystal Palace? That is the other question. And do Arsenal want to move on Trossard in a swap deal, or do we prefer selling him to a different team for more than 25 million so they can get that money? All that is very tricky. So we already know Martinelli has been linked to the move away, Trossard has been linked to the move away, Vieira has been linked to the move away, Lokonga and many other players. So we're still waiting to see which players are going to move to which teams and how much money we're going to get for these players. But this is a suggestion for today. Would you guys be willing to swap Eze and Trossard? And if your answer is yes, how much money would you pay? Plus Trossard to get Eze. How much do you think Trossard is worth? And then how much do you add in terms of the money so that you can get Eze? So that will be very interesting. So this update as well came from Mark Adam TV. He says Arsenal have been exploring the conditions of a potential deal, and the key thing that Eberechi Eze would be keen on moving to North London, which makes things a lot easier. There's a release clause in his contract, 60 plus 8 million add-on. So we discussed that already. Just like Gyokeres and just like Mosquera, if the player wants to join you, it makes things easier. If Gyokeres did not just want to join Arsenal, things would have been even more complicated, because you'd have been open to moving to different teams, you'd have been open to staying at Sporting, you'd have been open to wait until next season to see what happens. For Mosquera, if he was open to other options, would have decided to sign a new contract with Valencia and wait till next year and then possibly join Arsenal next year, or go to a different team next year, or stay at Valencia and wait for grow up a little bit until he's like 23, 24 and then move on from there. But the fact that they really wanted to join Arsenal really helps the situation, makes it easier for Arsenal. Arsenal can take it a little bit slower with Mosquera, because they know, okay, he's not going to sign a new contract, he's not going elsewhere, he only wants to join Arsenal. Let's focus on these other deals, and then 2 weeks later we come back for Mosquera. That's what they've done with Gyokeres. Arsenal are like, we're not going to pay you that money. The player wants to join Arsenal. Are you willing to keep a player who's unhappy? Sporting kind of war, but yeah, it has kind of also helped us in terms of Gyokeres paying his own money, and the agent also kind of pushing for the move. So if a player really wants to join you, it helps us. Now, in Eze's situation and scenario, if he prefers Arsenal to a Liverpool, to a Tottenham, to any other team, it really helps us. So if I don't know. I'm sure he might want to also stay at Crystal Palace. I don't think he's forcing a move from Crystal Palace unless things change. If he does force a move from Crystal Palace, then it makes our situation even easier. But let's see how this one will go. I don't think this one will get done like in the next few days, unless we get surprised after all the other deals are made. I think it's one that is going to carry on until later on this month. Unfortunately, we're not going to see him against the likes of AC Milan next week, next Wednesday. I don't think he's going to sign for us that early. Right now, you're trying to finalize deals for Gyokeres and for Madueke and Mosquera, and then potentially move on to sales and then back to Eze. So let's see how it goes. Lastly, we have this one on Fabio Vieira. Arsenal have set an asking price of 20 million for Fabio Vieira, who would like to reunite with former Arsenal coach Carlos Cuesta at Parma. So Hand of Arsenal did report yesterday that Parma willing to pay for Vieira was a bit not true. But according to the Times, Vieira would be willing to move there. Now, how much would Arsenal want? According to this report, Arsenal would want around 20 million for Fabio Vieira. Now, would I take 20 million for Fabio Vieira? I probably would. I wanted us to get, at least 25 million for Trossard, at least 15 million for Lokonga, and then at least 20 million for Vieira. The thing is, these players haven't really been playing. They've been out on loan. Players like Reece Nelson have been injured, and Fabio Vieira hasn't really, I don't think Vieira's had a full good season in like 4 or 5 years. So that also becomes a problem, and depends if he wants to move. Arsenal don't want to loan him out. Arsenal don't want to keep him. Vieira is willing to leave. So the best thing is just to let him leave. If you're able to get that 20 million, definitely pounce on that and let him move on. And we can use that money elsewhere. That money, if you sell Vieira for 20 million, basically that pays for Nogard and Kepa. If you move on Nelson and Lokonga, that pretty much pays for at least half of Zubimendi's deal, or at least half of Eze's deal if possible. So let's see which players are going to move on, which players are going to be sold. But that's the latest tonight. Let's wait and see tomorrow, Thursday. That's when we're expecting things to quicken up for the Gyökeres deal. Hopefully get the here we go tomorrow so that the player can object for his medical on Friday that we've been told about. We only have 1 day, so let's see how it goes, man. Let's hope we can finally end this saga with Gyökeres and then move on to selling players and move on to focusing on preseason and getting Eze through the door. So that's the latest. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.